What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Fantasy Football. My name's Blitz Link. I'm here with my boy Louie, and we are doing another mock draft for you guys today. If you haven't already, check out the description down below to view our 2026 draft guide. And if you want to join the community, make sure you join that as well. It's a free community where we answer all of your fantasy football questions to help you win your league. But without further ado, it's mock draft time. Louie is at pick 103. I'm at pick 108. Who are you eyeing up here at the third slot? Oh man, you got a gift.
Oh yeah, I would have assumed Chase there, and I already had the points made. I will take Gibbs here because I got handed him, but I will make the point for Chase like I wanted to. I just think now with I was mixing in a lot of Puka when I had 1-3 opportunities, but I do think that uh, he's become the clear 1-3 now that the Puka injury and a possible 1-game suspension. I think Chase is the real safe 1-3. And we know, even though this mocked this way, the two running backs are 1-1 and 1-2, and Chase should be the 1-3.
Yeah, I agree. It's getting a little bit easier with what is going on off the field with Puka Nacua for the 103, 104. I decided to go James Cook here with my selection. James Cook, we talked about in a previous video how Buffalo may be a little bit different with Joe Brady as the head coach. One of the bigger rumors from that has been James Cook being more involved in his snap share and his receiving workload. He was the RB6 last year at 1,600 rushing yards. Imagine if he has more than 32 receptions in this offense. He has a top 3 ceiling this year.
Yeah, I do think that there's a path to RB1. I think that's how if they really stick true to how they're going to throw him the ball, I think that he has that path.
Yeah, and that receiving upside paired with that rushing upside would be absolutely massive with him. I love getting Kenneth Walker where I did in this one. He's so undervalued on Sleeper right now, and Walker's a player that enters in the perfect situation for him to finally have that top fantasy, year in Kansas City. They already mentioned he's going to be a key cog in their receiving usage and the screen game. They're running a lot more under center in camp right now, and Walker was second in PFF grade last year and first in missed tackles forced. Walker enters an offense as well where they face the most stacked boxes in the NFL. Least stacked boxes in the NFL. I can't talk. I'm spewing right now. But Walker against those stacked boxes average over 7 yards per carry against those weak boxes. So Walker's in a great situation to succeed.
Yeah, I go London here at 210. I know we just had a video where we were talking about him as a fade, and he is. But I think at the ADP, I think this mock draft shows him at a little bit of a value here. I was kind of eyeing Neighbors there, as I think he is steaming up a lot for me. But with London there still on the board in this mock, I think he does find some value there. And a guy that I think last time we did this, I took him in the 3rd round, and I just think Josh Allen is I'm never really quarterback early unless I get him, but I think he is a huge value. I think he's a tier ahead of that next tier on his own, and I think he's worth a 3rd round pick almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, we're going with two vastly different strategies right now. You have a mix of everything over there. It looks pretty on your side. And I have running back. We are stacking those running backs. We're going robust RB. And then Kyron Williams, a player that I absolutely love right now, getting in the 3rd round, a player that has been a top 12 RB 3 straight seasons, is going to have one of the most red zone usage worked in football, 2nd easiest strength of schedule at running back. And then I'm still in a position to snag one of those receivers I really like as well. Lad McConkey's ADP is jumping up, so I unfortunately missed out on him. Same with Emeka Egbuka, but good thing I have Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers to choose from. I'm personally higher on Zay Flowers. He was a top 12 wide receiver last year with only 11 red zone targets. Now he's in a system with Declan Doyle that's going to emphasize more usage in the red zone to those wide receivers. Very excited to see what Zay Flowers can do with a little bit more of a pass-happy offense in Baltimore.
I like that. As I come in here, I'm gonna continue the rainbow, and I'm gonna take Colson. I am gonna take Colson Loveland. I think there is. I love Bowers. I just as I talked about Josh. I think Bowers is the clear cut 1-1 and ahead of the next tier of guys, but I think there is a path for Loveland to be that 1-1. I just think that that offense is going to go through him. The DJ Moore targets that have been that have left to go to Buffalo, more are going to go to him. Burden, everybody loves, but he's starting off now here with an injury. Adunze is coming off the foot injury that everybody's scared about. I just think Loveland's in for a monster year, and he's one of my favorite clicks. After that, this is I was going to say I love your strategy of robust RB. That's one that I am tending to go to the most this year when I'm drafting. I'm a little bit behind here with just Gibbs, but Quinshawn Judkins is one of my favorite clicks here this year. In that this is a dead zone a little bit for me as far as players in this next 2 rounds. I don't love it, and he's one that continues to stick out for me. I think the profile there is elite. Obviously, the situation is not, but I think that there's a path where if that team even is a little bit better than expected, they're going to try to control the clock with the running game. I think he could have a monster year.
Yeah, I think Quinshawn's in for a great situation volume wise this year in Cleveland. And he may not like necessarily have that top upside in fantasy, but volume is volume. And if he does play a little bit more on receiving downs in this offense, that's going to be really beneficial for his fantasy outlook. And he's actually one of the few players that had more expected fantasy points than points per game at that running back position with enough qualified touches. So based on his usage last year, you could say that he could be in for a bigger year this next year. And then I went with 2 of my favorite upside guys at the wide receiver position in these middle rounds here, and Carnell Tate and Parker Washington. Carnell Tate and Cam Ward did not look good in the first preseason action we saw of these guys, but I'm not going to completely freak out just yet. Carnell Tate still has some elite upside. Brian Dable still peppered him 3 targets and 2 drives, so that's very encouraging. But that offense is going to rely and go with Cam Ward. So Cam Ward can't take that next step forward. I'm not sure that Carnell Tate's going to be able to live up to the upside that I'm predicting for him this year. But then Parker Washington, a player that I absolutely love. I'm targeting him 2 rounds higher than his ADP at this point. You need to snag him. He's Jacksonville's clear number 1 receiver, according to everything in training camp. He averaged 22 points per game over his last 4 games. So he's about as good as it comes when you can find him in this slot.
I have a lot of both of those players. I absolutely love Parker Washington. Same thing. Like I'm finding myself needing to get out of most drafts with him. And again, just because I have him ranked to your point, a round or 2 ahead of where he is going. And so he always seems like a value to take him there. And so I'm just beating people to the punch. I don't mind that. I love both those guys. Here, I don't love avoiding wide receiver again, but I really do like Jadarian Price's upside.
Yeah.
Charbonnet does not scare me. I know that the injury news is a little better. He might only might miss 4 games at the most and come back in and maybe eat up some touchdowns. But I do think that Price is going to be able to set himself as the clear-cut bell cow in those 4 games. So if those 4 games go well, Charbonnet won't even be, he'll be an afterthought. So I'm banking on that a little bit, and I think Price has a really, really high ceiling, so I'll take that. And then I do need to get back to wide receiver. I really like Jordan Tyson's profile, and yeah. I wrote on Blitz a couple times this year about the Saints. I have them as a top 5 fantasy offense this year. I think that they will be a really, really good offense. I have ETN really high. I have Shuck really high. Both wide receivers, all above ADP. I love Tyson's profile. He started off a little bit slow here with the injury and not getting involved, but I can't imagine that that's going to last very long.
Yeah, I think Jordan Tyson has looked really good, and it's been all the reports that you wanted to see out of him with his crazy route running ability, just absolutely cooking guys with his moves there. And there's been even some people saying like, oh, like he might be better than Chris Olave. I'm not going to go that far just yet, but we all know the talent is there with Jordan Tyson. He needs to stay healthy, and I'm hoping this hamstring injury he's battling is not that big of a deal. and he could bounce back from that. So I decided to go with Jalen Warren and Trevor Lawrence. Tight end, I'm going to punt for another round here. Hopefully, I can snag a few guys that I like, but the computer is probably going to just do some crazy stuff because the computer drafts so much differently than real people. If you want to draft with me live, I do it every Monday, but went with Jalen Warren. You look at Aaron Rodgers' running backs and their fantasy production over the last couple seasons, they have been really good, and it's been a large part due to that reception value. Jalen Warren's going to be the primary receiving back for Pittsburgh this year, and he was a top 24 running back last year. I think he's a value in the 7th round right now. And then Trevor Lawrence can't be much higher on a quarterback than I am Trevor Lawrence. He was a quarterback 4 last year, top 4 in deep ball attempts, top 4 in air yards. He has scored 9 rushing touchdowns last year as well. He was so good in fantasy, and he's going to continue to build off of that this year with the 4th easiest quarterback schedule.
Lawrence is one of my favorite guys to grab when this whole kind of tier of quarterbacks. Herbert's a lot of fun. Lawrence is fun. Dart has some really good upside. So when I do miss out on Josh, these are the 3 guys that I'm kind of looking for here in this round. And so, yeah, I Lawrence is probably my most clicked guy outside of Josh. I got a few options here at wide receiver to continue this. I'm going to go Josh Downs instead of Alec Pierce. I just think that has flipped an ADP here with the Pierce injury news and how it's kind of prolonged a little bit. But are we sure that Josh Downs just isn't the better player? I think that Downs might be, I think we're getting a little bit caught up in the actual contract that Pierce got and wanting to believe that, he's going to be the clear cut number 1 because of the money. But I think Downs is the better receiver. And now he's becoming a little bit of a value because of the injury to Pierce. I think he starts off as their 1. I don't think Pierce will make it back by week 1. And so, again, this is kind of like the Price situation. If Downs comes in, gets the opportunity in the first couple games to be the guy and is the guy, well, then, Alec Pierce will just have to work in as the number 2. And then an offense I'm really starting to get a little bit excited about and wanting pieces of is one that you've already gotten a piece of is Tennessee Titans. I really like Wan'Dale Robinson here. My love for the Titans offense is based off of Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator. Obviously, as a Bills fan, I saw what he did to Josh, and this type of right where Cam Ward is in his development was where Josh was when Daboll took over and obviously helped him become a huge success. So I think Daboll is going to turn that offense around. I think all 3 of those players, Cam Ward and the 2 wide receivers, should have pretty good years.
Yeah, I like that right there. I'm going to start going with, you know what? Honestly, I'm going to keep punting tight end. I trust my guys. I'm going to find a way to get those guys when I want them to. I'm going to go with 2 players that I really like their upside of the wide receiver position, Stephon Diggs and Rashid Shaheed. Shaheed's a player that I expect to take a bigger role on in Seattle. We saw him average like 5 to 6 targets with New Orleans. Gets traded at the deadline, just never got in a rhythm there, but was heavily involved on shot plays and these different type of design plays that got him in space, and we're able to utilize his speed well. So I'd like Shaheed at his value right now as a nice dart throw, but Stephon Diggs still really undervalued after signing with the Washington Commanders. He's going to have plenty of target volume coming off a 1,000-yard season. There's nobody in his range of picks that has the type of floor that Stephon Diggs has entering this year.
I really wanted just to bang out a bunch of wide receivers here, as I probably would try to if I was drafting for real. But a guy that you and I both love, I think, is still available and should not be. Jonathan Brooks, I will go here. We've hyped him up, I think, since February, you and I, but now only more hype has come since where, he's looked really good. Hubbard's got the injury. He's going to have every opportunity to maybe even take, me and you, I think, anticipated him taking over the role at some point. He might take it over week 1. And so he is 3-4 rounds behind where I think he should be going. And if I would have even noticed him last round, I probably would have taken him over Rondale. So Brooks there. And then I will get back to the wide receiver. I think both, and this is insane that I'm saying this, but both Casey Concepcion and a guy that should be drafted here soon, Denzel Boston, both have some pretty big high upside. I think one of them crushes, and then one of them probably hits at their ADP, but I think both of them are going to do well. Negative game scripts, no competition besides Jury Judy. I just think that they both have a pretty high ceiling. Like I said, I expect one of them to absolutely smash, and then one of them probably sits and just makes their ADP worth it.
Yeah, I'm all in on Casey Concepcion or Denzel Boston and throwing flyers on those guys in the 11th and 12th rounds because they're both values. We don't really know what to expect from either of them just yet on a bad Browns offense, but the talent's clearly there for both of those guys, and I like targeting them. And then I kind of, like I said, I wanted to punt tight end. I wanted to go late round tight end. Every year, there's always a tight end that breaks out and becomes a league winner. Harold Fannin last year was the tight end 30. He finished as the tight end 5. Juwan Johnson was the tight end 9 last year. He had 800 plus receiving yards. He's going all the way in the 11th, 12th rounds of drafts right now. It's the same situation. Tyler Shuck targeted him at a very high rate. He was top 10 in yards after the catch, yards per reception. Very, very good metrics that suggest he's not going to be falling off. And then Greg Dulcich, he has the easiest schedule at the tight end position. He was top 10 in yards per route run, yards after the catch per reception. Like the guy is going to be a good player for Miami this year. He is in my top 12 tight ends. I'm so much higher on him than anybody else. But the opportunity is there for both those players to be very successful. So I like mitigating my risk with those guys.
Yeah, I follow up with Denzel Boston for the same reasons I just said. You know, I think one of these guys does smash, and then I think one probably just holds their ADP, and I'll take them both to make that bet because I do believe that one of them is going to have to smash just based off of target share. So I like that I get him just around later than Concepcion. I think they both have the same upside, and then I get sniped on Jonah Coleman, a guy that I wrote about on Blitz the other day, who I'm really starting to get high on and excited about. But I'll go back to here. I like the steadiness of. I don't think this is as much of a ceiling pick, but I do like the steadiness of Juwan Jennings. I think he is going to be a solid, 9-10 point floor guy. We saw Addison dip down last year. I think Murray's going to look to use the slot guy a little bit more. So Juwan Jennings, I feel like, has a pretty decent floor, and I like him here.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a very solid pick at the end of those drafts. I went with Stribling, a player on his old team, and he's a player that keeps rising up draft boards. I've been kind of high on him since the draft process. I expected him to get overdrafted based on his projected draft spot, and he got drafted all the way in the first pick of the second round. The 49ers in his first preseason game, he had 7 catches for 63 yards. He's going to be involved. The wide receiver injuries in San Francisco are forcing him up the depth chart, and I want anybody that Kyle Shanahan is scheming touches up for. So with Stribling, I really like that pick overall. Louis, taking a look at your squad here at the 103, what do you like about your team? What do you think you could have done better?
I love, that it's kind of even, right? And that's kind of what you want. I still think, even though waiting on running back, like I said, I have been going a lot of robust running back like you have, but when you get a Jahmyr Gibbs to fall in your lap at 1-3, you could kind of avoid that a little bit. And I got a little bit of value in London and Allen, and even Loveland as a really good value in the 4th round. So I punt them, but then I get Judkins and Price, 2 young backs that should have some ceiling. So and Brooks, as late as I did, is great. So I love the running back room, the quarterback and tight end position. I always loved it, especially in redraft, when you can, in lineup leagues where you can just kind of get your onesies and then play the waiver wire later on for the bye weeks. You get those positions set. So I love that. Of course, the wide receiver room is going to suffer when you do this a little bit, but I have some high upside guys like Tyson and Concepcion and Boston. And then I have some floor guys like Downs, Robinson, and Jennings. So I really like how I built this team. Would love to walk away with these in a real draft.
Yeah, I love my RB room. I got a lot of depth there. Besides that, though, I think I had a very okay draft. I think I got good upside in the wide receiver room. I wish I could have got a tight end a little bit earlier, but sometimes you have to adapt. And I still have a lot of these guys in my roster that I'm really high on this year, and that's all you can hope for, is that you go with your guys and you draft them where they're available. and then you'll be in a good spot to go win a championship. But hey, drop a comment down below. How would you grade me and Louis' drafts? Make sure you hit that subscribe button for daily fantasy football content, and we'll catch you guys next time.